What happens when the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man becomes humanity's worst nightmare? Today we're exploring the most terrifying what-if scenario in Marvel history. How Peter Parker could single-handedly destroy not just the Avengers, but the entire universe. Welcome back to If Possible Hub. If you're new here, we dive deep into the most insane scenarios the comics never dared to explore. Before we begin this nightmare, smash that like button if you're ready for some psychological horror, and subscribe with notifications on. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. To understand this story, we first need to meet the most terrifying entity in Marvel's cosmic hierarchy, Knull, the King in Black. Before there were stars, before there was light, there was only the void, and Knull ruled that darkness. This ancient god didn't just create symbiotes, he is the symbiote. Every Venom, every Carnage, every symbiote that's ever existed, they're all just fragments of his infinite darkness. For billions of years, Knull has been imprisoned, locked away by the very light he despises. But what if he found a way to return? Not through brute force, but through corruption of Earth's greatest protector. Our story begins on what seems like a normal day. Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, is doing what he does best, protecting New York City. But today's different. Carnage isn't just causing chaos, he's performing some kind of ritual. As Peter battles the psychotic symbiote, he notices something horrifying. Carnage is trying to open a portal. In the heat of battle, Peter doesn't realize he's not just fighting Carnage anymore. Something ancient, something infinitely more dangerous is seeping through that tear in reality. The moment Peter makes contact with that otherworldly darkness, his fate is sealed. This isn't Eddie Brock's Venom, this is a direct fragment of Knull himself, and it doesn't want to coexist with Peter Parker. It wants to consume him entirely. The infection doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow psychological torture that makes Peter watch helplessly as he loses pieces of himself, one by one. At first, it's just whispers. Peter starts hearing the voices of every symbiote on Earth, their hunger, their hatred, their endless need to consume. He thinks he can handle it. He's faced symbiotes before, right? But this is different. These aren't just alien parasites. They're extensions of a god's will, and that god is slowly awakening inside Peter's mind. The first thing to go is Peter's empathy. That joke-cracking, wisecracking hero who always puts others first. He starts seeing people as resources, food for the growing darkness inside him. His famous quips stop being funny and start being cruel. When a building collapses, instead of rushing to help, Peter finds himself calculating how many symbiotes he could create from the victims. The breaking point comes when Peter looks at Aunt May, the woman who raised him, who represents everything good about his humanity, and feels nothing. No love, no recognition, just hunger. In that moment, Peter Parker realizes he's not fighting the symbiote anymore. He is becoming it. The final transformation is both beautiful and horrifying. Peter's body doesn't just grow, it evolves. He becomes something that makes Venom look like a house pet, towering, powerful, with tentacles that can stretch across city blocks and a hunger that can never be satisfied. But here's the truly terrifying part. Peter's consciousness is still in there, screaming silently as his body commits unspeakable acts. He's not possessed. He's been rewritten at a fundamental level. When the Avengers realize what Peter has become, they face an impossible choice: save their friend or save the world. Spoiler alert, they can't do both. Tony Stark, genius billionaire philanthropist, brings every piece of tech he's ever created: repulsors, sonic weapons, even nanobots designed specifically to fight symbiotes. But here's what Tony didn't account for. This isn't just a symbiote anymore. It's a fragment of cosmic horror that existed before technology, before science, before rational thought itself. Every weapon Tony fires just becomes more material for the growing symbiote army. If technology fails, surely divine power can succeed. Thor calls down the full might of Asgard, lightning that could split mountains, the power of the storm itself. The symbiote doesn't just resist the lightning, it feeds on it. Every bolt that strikes makes the creature stronger, more connected to cosmic forces that even Asgardian magic can't comprehend. But the most heartbreaking moment comes when Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk, ready to smash this threat into oblivion. The Hulk's unlimited strength, it becomes the symbiote's unlimited strength. His endless rage, it becomes endless hunger. In minutes, the Green Goliath becomes something far worse. A symbiote-controlled monster with all of Hulk's power and none of his remaining humanity. Steve Rogers, the first Avenger, the man out of time, makes one final desperate play. If he can reach whatever's left of Peter Parker, but there is no Peter Parker left to reach. The shield that stopped bullets and repelled cosmic forces shatters against the pure malevolence of Knull's influence. With Earth's mightiest heroes fallen, nothing stands between the Venom God and total domination. What happens next isn't just conquest, it's transformation on a planetary scale. Every person the creature touches doesn't just die, they become part of something larger. A hive mind that spans continents, all connected to the twisted consciousness that was once Peter Parker. The infection spreads faster than any virus, any pandemic humanity has ever faced. It doesn't travel through air or water. It travels through touch, through proximity, through the very shadows themselves. New York City, Peter's beloved home, becomes the first to completely transform. Skyscrapers meld together into massive organic structures, pulsing with dark energy and housing millions of symbiote drones. London, Tokyo, Paris, one by one, every major city on Earth becomes part of a single living organism, with the Venom God at its center. But remember, Peter Parker is still conscious through all of this. He experiences every death, every transformation, every moment of terror, as his body commits genocide on a planetary scale. Imagine being forced to watch as your hands destroy everything you ever loved, everyone you ever protected, while being powerless to stop it. When all hope seems lost, when Earth itself has become a symbiote hellscape, one person refuses to give up. Not a superhero, not a cosmic entity, just Mary Jane Watson. See, while everyone else sees a monster, MJ sees the man she loves trapped inside that nightmare. She's the only person who truly knew Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, the hero, but Peter, the person. Armed with nothing but memories and an unshakable belief in the man she loves, MJ ventures into the heart of the symbiote hive that was once Manhattan. When MJ finally stands before the towering monstrosity that contains Peter's consciousness, she doesn't try to fight it. She doesn't bring weapons or technology or magic. Instead, she does something that short-circuits the cosmic horror infecting Peter's mind. She talks to him. Not Spider-Man, not the hero, but Peter. She reminds him of their first date, their first kiss, the moment he told her his secret identity. For the first time since the infection began, the Venom God hesitates. Deep inside that cosmic nightmare, Peter Parker remembers what it feels like to be human. But what happens next? The beauty of what-if scenarios is that there's never just one answer. Let's explore 3 possible endings to this cosmic horror story. In our first ending, MJ's love literally saves the world. Peter's humanity proves stronger than Knull's corruption, and he manages to separate himself from the symbiote fragment. The global infection reverses, the dead are somehow restored, and Peter is left powerless but human. The cost? He can never be Spider-Man again, having burned out his connection to anything supernatural in the process of freeing himself. Our second ending is pure nightmare fuel. MJ's attempt to reach Peter only serves to show Knull what human love looks like, and he finds it disgusting. Peter's consciousness is finally snuffed out entirely, and Earth becomes the staging ground for Knull's invasion of the entire universe. The few surviving heroes must flee to other dimensions, carrying the guilt that they failed to save not just their friend, but their entire species. But the most interesting ending might be the compromise. MJ's intervention doesn't free Peter, but it doesn't doom him either. Instead, it creates a permanent stalemate. Peter and Knull share control of the same body, creating something that's neither fully human nor fully monster. This new being protects Earth, but through methods that would horrify the old Peter Parker. He rules rather than serves, commands rather than inspires, and while humanity survives, they live under the protection of something that might decide one day that they're not worth protecting anymore.